We need to make a move to get Sandy Brondello to the Indiana Fever, man. I think this is Sandy Brondello with Caitlin Clark. This is the closest thing we would get to Lisa Bluter.
Go through Facebook groups, YouTube comments, and Twitter. It can be found anywhere. Employ Sandy. Take Brondello over to Indiana. She is deserved by Clark. Fans don't write thoughtful recommendations. Ultimatums are being written.
Why?
Because, in their opinion, Stephanie White has outlived her usefulness. There are too many whispers about partiality. There are too many dubious rotations. She benched Caitlin Clark far too frequently at the wrong times. The story is obvious. White is not responsible for Indiana's recent advancements. In spite of her, that is.
Sever coach trade of any All-Star game ever. Just want to get your thoughts on that in your mind. First for you, Leo.
Thanos did? Yeah. That you got traded? Yeah. Oh, I gotta go look at all that. Traded? I have no idea what the teams are.
Second time in history now. Jeez, as a player. And I got traded, yes. My son hit me up after he goes, I've created history. This is awesome. I got traded as a coach. But look, I get to coach with Sabrina. I'm on Caitlin Clark's in Indianapolis. I mean, what a great show. So we'll go out there and have some fun.
Supporters are stating unequivocally, even if White wins, we don't care. The coach for the future of the Fever is Sandy.
Consider that.
They have no intention of waiting for Indiana to produce a championship. They're calling for a change already. And at its core, Caitlin Clark is the fuel that is igniting this firestorm. Because, let's be honest, Indiana in general isn't the reason behind the desire for Brondello. It concerns the ideal pair of Brondello and Clark. The vision is viewed by fans. A coach that truly gets Caitlin, believes in her, and lets her go rather than confining her. The league doesn't want you to remember this portion, which is the true kicker.
We could fix a lot of this we messed up. We can fix a lot of things that were messed up in the past off season. Let's fix it. Let's not be stubborn. Let's fix it. Let's go get Sandy Brondello.
Play the WNBA All-Star Game from 2025 on the tape. At that moment, Clark surprised everyone by doing a move that had never been done by a player before. She genuinely exchanged for a coach. In order to ensure that Brondello coached her team, Caitlin pulled strings.
Take a moment to process that.
An all-star roster was reassembled by a celebrity captain for a coach rather than for teammates. That was a statement rather than merely emotion.
I'm sorry. This is exactly the kind of coach. I've brought her name up a few times. I just never thought she'd be available to be frank.
And there was no denying their synergy once they were on the same sideline. Brondello did not treat Clark like a mascot while she was out due to a groin ailment. Caitlin was appointed an honorary assistant coach by her, holding clipboards, directing plays, and inspiring teammates. Sandy was right there, boosting Clark's voice, and it appeared as though she was already in charge of the league. She even openly stated that Caitlin was free to coach as much as she desired. How frequently does an experienced coach say that to you? Never. Brondello respects Clark to that extent.
Winning the title, what exactly led to the parting of ways between the Liberty and Sandy Brondello here?
Well, Malika, I know you guys talk about this a lot in the NBA and in other sports, but it was really championship or bust for New York and for Sandy Brondello. And in fact, if they hadn't won the championship last year, we might have been having this conversation a year ago, which is maybe a little startling to fans outside, given how, excuse me for those noises, for how impactful she'd been for that franchise. But that is how bullish this organization is in New York.
Fans witnessed it as well, and they still remember it. They cite that All-Star Game as evidence that this collaboration is a match made in heaven. It was perfectly summed up by one fan. Sandy must be signed by the Fever, and White must leave. Together, Caitlin and Sandy are unstoppable. That is conviction, not embellishment. This is the twist that adds even more spiciness to the whole situation. Many supporters think the WNBA is working against Brondello and, by extension, against Clark. This is how the theory works. The one coach that really makes the most of Caitlin's influence is not the one the league wants her matched with. And it's easy to understand why people think that when you make the connections.
I would expect them to really, again, be bullish in who they go after. We know that they are a WNBA franchise that invests a lot in a lot of resources, a lot of financial, capital into these decisions. So I think it wouldn't be shocking, though, if they decide to go after maybe someone in the NBA, someone that we might be a little bit more of a non-traditional hire. I do think Sandy Brondello has a great shot of getting hired again. We know what she has done in this league.
Think about the optics for a second. Sandy Brondello shares a laugh with Caitlin Clark at the All-Star break, and not long after, she's suddenly out in New York. Coincidence or calculated? Fans are flooding social media with takes like, one smile at Caitlin and she's gone. Sounds extreme, but considering how Clark has been treated, hard fouls brushed aside, her minutes cut, forced into schemes that never suited her, does it really feel that far-fetched? So, why did the Liberty actually part ways with Brondello? That's the million-dollar question. ESPN's reporting made it clear this wasn't about one disappointing playoff run. This was politics. This was about power. About a franchise trying to project itself as bigger than the league. According to insiders, New York's front office had been eyeing this move for quite some time. Brondello's seat wasn't just warm, it was on fire. The message was simple: deliver a championship, or you're done. Title or bust. Period.
New York Liberty just fired their head coach. People are confused as to why, because they won the championship last year, they made the playoffs this year. In sports, there's always a scapegoat when things aren't going the way that they wanted it to go. Clearly, in New York, the standard has been raised. As Coach Tibbs learned with the New York Knicks, making the playoffs does not guarantee that you are safe anymore. They have raised the standard. They're sending a message to the fans, to the team, saying, we don't want to just go to the playoffs. We need to go to the finals and we need to win. So if it's not the players on the court that are changing, it's got to be the coaching staff. So unfortunately, that did mean Coach Sandy.
Here's the truth. Sandy Brondello isn't the kind of coach who boxes Caitlin Clark in. She doesn't see her as a kid who needs to be managed. She sees her for what she is, a once-in-a-generation leader who needs to be unleashed. And that scares people. Because giving Clark that kind of freedom threatens the very structure of a league that has spent 2 years trying to contain her impact. That's why so many believe the WNBA will never let a Brondello-Clark reunion happen in Indiana. The irony is brutal. The perfect partnership is right there, obvious to anyone paying attention. Fans see it. Analysts see it. And Clark herself seems to recognize it. Yet the ones in charge, the very people who claim they want to grow the game, are the ones blocking it. Which leaves us with the bigger question. It's not whether this pairing could happen. It's whether the league would ever allow it to happen. Because if Brondello and Clark were ever on the same sideline, it wouldn't just shift the balance of power, it might blow it up completely. So now it's your turn. Do you think the Fever should lock in Brondello as their next head coach? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single update. And if you're ready for more, click the video on your screen. We'll catch you there.